What's up guys, this is Coach Aleyzr here, and today we're going to talk about how to play long on dust2. So guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about long, and here's what I'm going to show you today. First, we're going to talk about how to start long if you have a smoke from your teammates, or how to start long if you don't have a smoke, how to start long with a good spawn, how to start long with a bad spawn, what to do if the T's are actually coming out long early, how to play against early long pops, how to behave in mid round, when to actually leave long, and how to play if you want to retake the A side. So as you probably know, this spawn is pretty important. So if you're playing long and you have this top spawn, which is usually the case because in most packs people play off of the spawn, you can just come here, do the molly, and then just hide. And then there's probably one guy ready with a flash that can just flash for you. And you basically just wait if the molly is getting extinguished or not, wait for the flash, and then swing. If you didn't get the smoke, it might be a good idea to smoke long, hide for a little bit here on the corner, and then once the smoke is out, you can actually start moving. What you can also do if you're all by yourself is actually smoke like this and kind of flash for yourself. And then you can basically do the whole sequence by yourself. So your teammate that is usually flashing here is free to, for example, boost your teammates on short. And it's basically a way of taking long control for yourself. Now, the most common scenario is, however, that somebody is smoking for you. And in this type of scenario, you should always just molly blue, something like this. Yeah, just very like you come here, molly blue like this, and then you just hide. And then you know that nobody can be blue. We do the exact same thing. We wait for the flash. And afterwards we peek out, and then we can move into our next position. Now will be the time where you can already see the difference between a good and a not so good long player, because after we've making sure that they're not rushing out, the next thing we need to be very careful about is long pops. So what T's can do is they can actually smoke if there's a molly, or what they can do, they just, if you're smoking, they just go inside of the smoke, and then somebody is just doing some flashes, and then they kind of pop on you on a second timing. This is something you really need to be aware of in every round that you're playing long, after you've making sure that they're not rushing. So now if they're not coming out, we have to move in our next position, and usually we have three options for that. We can go pit, we can play on this side here, or we can play towards the blue bin. For all of these scenarios, what I would advise you to do is that you go anti-flash, because what's very unlikely to happen is that T's go through the smoke without a flash on second timing and they just walk out. So play anti-flash if you're moving into the next position. So if you want to go pit, we're here, we move like this. Yeah, we just look at the ground. If they're coming out, we still can react. If we're moving towards blue, yeah, we want to move like this. If they're coming out, we still can react, because if we're moving like this, there's nothing we can do if we get blind here. And here's the same thing. Like on left side, if you're moving towards the left side here, just look like here if you're moving like this, and if they're coming, we can still react. Now, what are some good positions to play if we play against a long pop? Well, we can play pit. For this, it's really kind of important that we have support, because playing in pit without support is pretty much useless. So if your teammates are boosting or short, I would not advise you to play in pit. This is only position where it's like really powerful if teammates are actually flashing for you, and then you can play with their flashes. So if nobody's with you, it's much better to play, for example, on this wall here. Or what's also a very, very strong position is this one here. The reason why this position is so powerful is if teammates, or if T's are flashing out like this, yeah, just a normal flash that has to go past this door to blind anyone that's on this side, will not blind you here. So as you can see, flash is coming, flash is too deep. So this is a very, very powerful position that you can play, and all of these flashes are never going to blind you. Another position that you can always play is kind of here on long, where you just jiggle and then peek on the timing. The thing with that is that if they're coming out long, you will probably be forced to give it up. So this is only a good option, I think, if you've punished them earlier and you don't really expect them to go long again, because then if you're playing here, you're very fast to rotate somewhere else, and you're not like super hard committed towards playing long, for example, if you're playing out here. So now we talked about how to start a round and how to play against those long pops. But now I quickly want to come back to the early round and explain to you how you want to behave if the T's are actually coming long. So let's imagine the normal scenario. You get the smoke from spawn, you do this molly here, and you're here, and somebody's flashing. And you hear now all of these flashes from the T's. One thing to make sure is that you're not staying like this, but kind of like this, because sometimes people just throw like random deep flashes, and then you don't want to be looking at the left side, because then all of those flashes are going to fully blind you. So after you did the molly, always look into the wall. Now you hear all the flashes, you tell your teammate to flash, and then you just want to swing out. Obviously this will be smoke, and you want to play for the maximum amount of damage. One key detail here is if the T's are doing a corner smoke, you can play it a little bit differently. If they're doing a corner smoke, you will always see that while doing the molly. So you do the molly, you will see the smoke like flying and probably be already close to blooming here. What you can then do is to immediately pull out the flash. So you do the molly, you have your flash out, and then you kind of do the same with your teammate. You just tell him to flash again, but this time you kind of just drop a flash like this, and then you move to the right side. It's just more flashes they have to dodge, and then you can move into a very strong position here on the right side, and this is like a very powerful position. If you have a teammate with you, what would be best if you tell him that he should move to the right side, like through the smoke. So this is probably just something if you play in a team or with your teammate together on long, then just tell him that he's the one. So you're basically like standing here, you did the molly, they're coming, you flash, but this time you're moving out like this, like backwards into the smoke, and then you come out like this, because while we're here, we want to avoid the late flashes here and then return. And at the time where we are moving out here, out of the smoke, he's moving into the smoke. So for you, molly, flash, turn, smoke, out. And for him, it's just being close to you here. You flash, and with your flash, he's moving into the right side corner, and then he's peeking from here and you're peeking from here. And this is a very strong block for any type of long take. Now, as we said earlier, there will be rounds where you kind of start by yourself all alone. And if the T's are coming out in those type of rounds, it's probably best to just fall back onto the A side, because you're not going to be able to hold long by yourself. One thing to consider is if you're leaving, sometimes it can be a good idea to just drop a flash like this, because sometimes if T's are coming out, they want to chase into you. And this, as you can see, was probably not the best flash. You should flash a little bit lower, something like this, and then move out. Because if somebody is chasing you and he's trying to catch you, he's going to be full blind, and this just makes it a little bit safer for you to get into the city base area. One thing to understand is that losing long is not the end of the world. People are sometimes still like hard stuck into believing that long is super duper important, but it's actually not, because back in the days, if you were stuck here on city spawn, you could only boost one player up, or two obviously, but one guy would always be like stuck here because he can't boost himself. And this meant that you would only be able to rotate towards short from mid. Nowadays, with those boxes here, this is not a problem. People in mid, like they don't even have to go from mid. They can just go city base, go up the boxes, and then they're on the A side. And it's the same for you. You can just go up the boxes and move onto the A side yourself. So losing long is not the end of the world. So now when we made it towards city spawn, the first thing that we should always do is do some kind of block smoke. You can do either this one here, or with a lineup where you just come here and aim a little bit above this corner, or you just go here and aim a little bit, just roughly in this area, on this left side here of the sign, and then just drop a smoke. And what this smoke will do, it will deny any awper that is going pit to hold this CT line here. And this is very important to you, because usually like when there's no smoke and people are scaling up here, even if you have a teammate that flashes them like this, flash that you can peek out with, if there's an awper sitting back here, he's never going to get really blinded by this flash, and he can always just hold you and kill you. To avoid that, we're gonna use a smoke like this, and then we're totally fine. If we're falling back against a long take, we basically have two main roles now. The first one, as we're kind of talking about already, is to block them long, to slow them down. And the second one is to figure out if they're committing or not, like if they're rushing or not. I would say in like probably 90% of the time, when T's are coming out long, they're not full sending it. They're going here, somebody's doing a smoke, somebody's going pit. So you will have a lot of time. And now you just want to delay them, because what's really important for you to understand is your job here as a long player now is to just make sure that they're not committing directly, that they're not coming A now, because this will give your teammates a lot of time to, for example, like come down from B, check mid. The short player can also move towards mid, because what he really doesn't want to do, if he understands that T's are usually not committing towards A instantly, he doesn't want to help you right now. He might want to flash one time for you that you can like quickly check in front of the smoke if they're committing or not. But then he wants to go mid and see if he can help his teammates from B or his mid player to check mid if there's anyone lurking, and maybe get, for example, the B rotator into a good position like lower tunnels. Because pushing B sometimes can be really hard. If there was smoke, the T can be already here, and there are like a billion off angles that he can hold. So against, especially on higher levels, like the B push is very obvious. So most of the time you want to push mid instead of B, and then get somebody into lower tunnels, and then the B player can rotate off, and your lower guys kind of care of taking care of B, and it's also like making sure nobody comes late short. And then the short player, after he helped your mid player to get into lower, then he can come back, and now he's able to fight the A side. And you want to buy kind of like block the T's on long, so he has this timing window to do that, and then he's still in time to come back to you to defend the A side. Now if you've blocked them, sometimes you're lucky and somebody gives you a second smoke, so you can just re-smoke. Yeah, this was bad. I have to stand, obviously, not move. You can re-smoke this, and then your B player or your awper that was in mid can sometimes flash for you again, and you can check here and see if they're coming. Now what do you do if they now like do CT smoke and actually come onto the A side? Generally speaking, you want to be the one staying around CT base here, because your short player wants to rotate into the A side, and he probably has a lot of util left while you don't. And you want to be in a position, like if the smoke is still up, where you play for maximum amounts of damage. So if there's like a re-smoke, for example, from you that you got from your teammates, then it would be a really good idea to get some flashes and play with the flash for maximum damage. And if not, what you can do, if you have an HE left, you can just break something like this, and then you just fight together with your teammates. And then if they're moving into the A side, you mostly want to play a position like this, where you can handle if anyone is like jumping out on top of the car, or you can see if somebody is jumping up headshot here, and just try to get a kill, and then try to play for the retake together with your teammates. Usually what you don't want to be doing is insta going onto the A side, because there's not many positions that you can play from. Like here is probably getting mollied, here is getting flashed, so it's kind of hard to play here. And this would only mean that you are able to play here, but this might be a position where your awper that is rotating into, or your short player, yeah, he wants to play, you know. And if you're already here, then he's kind of fucked. So mostly you want to stay towards city base and break, or play with flashes, or move up later onto the boxes here. Okay, so now we covered early round, how to behave against those early pops, how to behave if you lose long, and how to actually defend the A side when the T's are coming A. Now let's talk about mid round a little bit. So they are not coming A instantly. They are not popping on in timing when we're here. Nothing really happens. Now we enter the mid round. What do we do on long? The first thing that I want you to think about is, usually you have one of the A players doing the smoke for you. So you have still a smoke left. What I want you to do is to listen carefully about what your teammates are saying on mid. Because if there's a lot of stuff happening in mid, it's very likely that you're just facing one guy on long, and you should never use your smoke on him, because you should be able to handle one player all the time by yourself, because there are just a trillion off angles that you can choose. Like people actually play off angles, for example, here, you can play here, whatever. Yeah, there are a billion amount of angles that you can choose. One player should always, like if there's just one player coming out, you should always be able to kill him. So there's no need to use your smoke. And this can be very powerful, because if they've taken, for example, short control, and now they want to go back later in the round, and your teammates are telling you, yeah, mid is really quiet right now, and you still have a smoke left, then you're like in a very good position because you can just block them, play really close, and then the round becomes really annoying for the Ts. Now in mid round, the concept that you want to understand is you're either playing for kind of a double kill or you're playing to get support here. So if you have an awper, again, like we said in the beginning, that is here, that can flash for you, then it might be a good idea to play in pit. But again, if we don't have any support here, like our awpers in mid, our short players on short, then we have to kind of play for the double kill. There are some really good positions. The first one is this one here, basically in front of the blue. And now people are actually starting to play this position here towards the right side of the blue. And this is really powerful because if Ts are coming out now, you would be already able to spot my arm, but I wouldn't be able to spot you. So you can easily see them and directly kill them. And the good thing about all of those positions where you're holding the door is that it's really hard for the second T to refrag you because those two guys are basically standing in front of each other. So it's very easy for you to get double kills like this. Now, one thing in mid round that is pretty common is that your A rotator makes a decision to come A. So if he's not playing on city base, sometimes he decides that he wants to play towards here or towards headshot. So you're basically playing a 3A setup. You're playing the line. In those type of rounds, you have to understand that your team is very weak against B splits. So now you also have to make a critical decision. And the decision you have to make is, do I think they want to come long or not? If yes, it might be a good idea to play towards pit because now, as we said, we play the line. We have somebody that can support us and then we can fight with the support. Or we want to play more close here because in case the Ts are splitting B now, we're in a very powerful position to quickly flank them and play very aggressive and try to catch anyone that might be still lurking in mid. This is obviously a decision that comes with experience. However, what I want you to think about is even if you're playing defensive here, and now the threat of a B split, let's say it's like 35-40 seconds, it's very likely that the Ts are now committing with like what they're doing. And now B split is getting called. Please don't rotate here. Yeah, it's full useless. If you're here, you're going to be too late anyways. Just insta push long. Yeah, just instantly push long if it's like early enough. Obviously, if they're already out, then you can also just go here. Yeah, but then the round is probably GG anyways. But if now the threat of B split is coming, consider going aggressive here. And now what I want you to think about is that it's best if you try to catch your timing and then at some point you can start running. Because lurking here is fully useless. If the Ts are already like up here and made it to the bomb site, then the round is probably lost anyways. So it's not the end of the world if on like 35 seconds there's still somebody lurking here and you die to him. It's not the end of the world. Just take the risk, because if you're finding here a good kill, like a guy that's like maybe long, or you catch their lurker that might be like playing closed door here, then it's really, really good. And now you can actually go for the retake. So if you're in the line setup and B split is getting caught, be like ready to become very aggressive. And then if you feel like, okay, now is the time, then you can actually start speeding up here. So now let's get to the part which probably most players have struggles with. And this is the understanding of when to actually leave long. Well, the first obvious thing is if you have punished them on long early, like earlier into the half or the round before, then you can start however you want. Yeah, you get smoke, for example, you do blue molly, you might get a flash, you check. And if nothing is coming, you are free to probably leave long. As we said earlier, losing long is not the end of the world. And if Ts are coming out like in a round like this, they're popping, they're gonna use flashes. So you're gonna know anyways. And if you're falling back, what you can always do is to re-smoke. Just look at this letter here, just the bottom corner, to re-smoke long from here. Yeah, something like this. And then you can leave long anyways and help your teammates to have good short setups where you're maybe like double short, one open mid. And then you have a pretty strong setup here to fight any mid take, which can be really powerful. This is also a very valid option if you know that the Ts mostly default towards mid. They're never going long besides of like rushing or popping. And they default their rounds towards taking short control. And against those type of teams, it's very good to leave long and deny them the short control and fight here early and pretty much destroy the round before it even started. Another situation where you might want to leave long is if the T's are on an extremely weak buy, because what they're gonna do, Glock you from long, probably not happening. So it's not really worth to put that many resources, aka a whole player with nades and a good gun, onto holding something that T's can't really take with Glocks. So just leave it, and then you can help your teammates defend short or mid, something that is more important to hold. And if T's are coming long, again, it's not the end of the world. Now, another scenario where leaving long might be a good idea is when you're down a man. So if it's 4v5, let's say your mid player is getting entryed early on, or one of your B players, then it might be a good idea to leave long and gamble a little bit on the T's making noise when they're coming out long. And then you can strengthen your short setup. For example, you can group up with your short player, and then one of your mid players can come back towards mid. And now you can fight mid together with 3 guys and still have a decent chance of turning the round in your favor, or at least get some trades to get back into the round. In those type of scenarios, you don't always have to group up short, even though it's a good option, but sometimes you can also just play with your awper together. So for example, you let your awper kind of float between long and the A side, and you're just kind of playing here, for example, holding an off angle. And if they're coming out, you can just hide, let him bait for you, take 1 or 2 shots, and then he's focusing on long. Because what he in this situation needs to understand, that most of the time, if T's are coming out short and they have a long look, the long look is always going to play very late, because if he's playing too early, he's never going to be able to like fight this guy here. So this awper has a little bit of time of taking his first or second shot and then focusing on the long guy, because he's not coming out early anyways. And this will allow you to play headshot, or for example here, and then you can basically play a joker position onto the A side, even though you're a man down. This would obviously also work the other way around. So if your awper likes to play here, for example, or he holds an angle like this, then you could also do the same. You're just hovering long corner, and if nobody's coming, or if the A hit is coming, you quickly can, for example, flash for him if you have. You try to help him, yeah, a little bit, and then you go back onto focusing on long and just try to catch the lurk. So now let's get into how to retake the A side. So sometimes you will have an awper sitting here, and then your city base player is either in, like, your A rotator is in city base or in goose somewhere or on headshot ramp, and your awper is taking the shots, and then he's falling back onto long. What's really important now, if he's like falling back, is to let him know, careful long, careful long. Yeah, you just can say that. He should always be aware of it, but sometimes people forget about it. So he's not exposing himself to this angle. So while he's coming, he's like kind of staying on this wall, not getting exposed. And you should be here holding a little bit in case somebody is like dumb and aggressive, like they take A side, they get a kill, they might want to peek here. And then it might be a good idea to quickly hold this for your awper. And then if nothing is coming, you should be walking up here and take over this angle while he's like still holding the A side. And once you have this angle here, you can tell him, yeah, I have long, you can go pit. And now you kind of switch position. So he's waiting here. Now you told him, okay, you have long. Then he can move into pit, for example, like here. Now you're basically just waiting for your teammates on short or on city base to be ready for the retake. And once the retake is ready, you're moving into this area here. One thing to consider is, obviously it would be good if your team knows like how to smoke short. Like you can do that from city base, for example, here, something like this. Or you can also do it from pit, but this is only something for like a team game, or if you're playing a 5-stack. Because no random is gonna know how to do it. I will quickly show you. So if the awper still have the smoke, he can just come against this dot here, crouch, and then just aim towards the top right corner here. And yes, you get exposed for 1 second, but he would be like holding, then quickly lining up, then doing the smoke. So like the chances of getting peaked at this exact timing is very low. And then this is going to be a short smoke. And let me quickly rethrow it. Yeah, this is going to be a short smoke, which can help your team a lot when they're coming up city base, because nobody can be playing like here anymore. Obviously in packs, this is not going to happen. So what we can do, if we have a flash, we just drop it to him, and then we just scale up here on the left side. he's standing like this, so he's still not getting exposed to the long lurk. And then on a timing, if you're getting like close to the wall, then you say, yeah, I'm ready. And then he should be the one flashing like this, just over this building here, because then anyone that's like playing here, for example, is getting full blinded. Anyone that might be playing here holding long is getting full blinded. Any of those positions here where people are like trying to hold city base are getting full blinded. And then with this flash, we just swing with our teammates from city base and try to take those fights. All of this area is covered by our awper still, and then we can just move here, take our fights, move up, and then see where the remaining T's are and take our fights. So now let's finish up the video with some plays that you can make. One thing to consider is if you're like early round playing here, you did the molly, you did the smoke, nobody's coming out, especially in the early part of the half, it might be a good idea to nade this kind of early into the round. So the T's are always afraid of you nading on an early timing. So if they actually want to play a long pop, they always have to make the tough decision into like, okay, we can make the long pop, but we are always going to eat that nade because he's always nading like this. This will make it a little bit easier for you to time the long pops, because then T's are probably going to wait for the nade, which will just buy you a little bit more time. And also, if they always have a long lurk that's here, he's probably going to play like outside because he doesn't want to tank the nade damage. And what this will allow you to do, if your teammates smoke here, you can basically just walk into here and play the off angle position here, which is a super powerful position because you have this huge shadow advantage. You can see my shadow is showing here, so anyone that's playing here can immediately see the shadow and knows that the T's are coming. So that's why this is a very strong position to be in. Another really cheeky play that you can do, if you have a teammate that walked into long, or you just sent him into long very early into the round, so basically you can nade, and like immediately after the nade he's like walking in through the smoke. Now what you can do is basically throw a flash like this, and if anyone is like holding from here, he's getting full blinded by this flash, and now your teammate can try to kill the guy that's holding him and just try to go for a surprise factor here. If you know that somebody's always holding from back there, you can do that play, or you can just tell your awper to come and then just let him post up on him. Now, if you have an awper that wants to peek long early, here's what you need to do. So your awper is going to have the top spawn and you are going to have any other spawn, doesn't really matter. What you're going to do, you just come here immediately and you kind of just hold a flash like this. Because if they're coming out, you want to immediately flash for him and then just hold here in case people are trying to rush him, because this is very common. If people hear an AWP shot, they're coming out, they want to rush him, and you want to be able to immediately help them. What's important for that is that you're not close here, because then you will get blinded from flashes as well. So you want to kind of stand far back. You let your awper peek, have the flash ready, instantly flash, move even more back, and then just hold. And if the T's are rushing him, you can just farm them and get some easy kills. And you're basically just here making sure that he's staying alive and he's able to fall back with you. So yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. I hope you did like the video. I know it took me some time, but right now I have some health issues going on. I'm trying my best to bring out more content. I'm very happy to see a lot of you guys coming to my Discord, suggesting new topics, or asking generally like questions about the game. So feel free to join my Discord. Obviously, you can also get coached by me. All of the information you can find on my Discord as well. And yeah, I'm just really happy to make those videos for you guys. Really happy for everyone that is being part of this growing community. Feel free to leave it in the comment section below, or again, just come to my Discord and we can have a talk. I hope every one of you is having a wonderful day, and I catch you in the next one. Bye bye, guys.